Yeah, what's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Prison Break Raw. I'm your host, the one and only Big JD. Sirhan Sirhan, is he the Manchurian candidate? I know a little bit about this guy. I've read a little bit about him over the years. Never officially met him in the California prison system. He's been in S&Y for some time. That's probably the reason why I haven't. But he wasn't always in S&Y. He originally was on death row until 1971 or 72, somewhere thereabouts. The death penalty had a moratorium on it, or it was temporarily offline. They had passed some legislation or something that got rid of the death penalty. Everybody was off death row for a short period of time until they reinstated it. But they never put Sirhan Sirhan back on death row. Instead, they transferred him to Soledad, which was a gladiator school for quite some time. And he was there until 1992, until they finally put him in protective custody and took him to Corcoran. He's bounced around from Corcoran to Pleasant Valley, and now finally he's at the R.J. Donovan facility in San Diego. And that's where he's been for some time. Recently, he got stabbed. And if you try to research the reasons for why he got stabbed, you ain't going to really find much. Nobody's really saying anything. It's very hush-hush. So, why won't this guy ever get out of prison? Especially being that Robert Kennedy Jr. himself, the son of Robert Kennedy that was killed, is now saying he believes that Sirhan Sirhan is innocent. Even their sister's getting in and chiming in on that as well. You got to think about it, right? So, why was Robert Kennedy's route diverted in the first place? Normally, he had a route going through the crowd, but they wanted to take him around back because his own people wanted to kill him as well. I mean, this conspiracy runs deep, and it's kind of like it goes all the way back to the curse of Jack. That's Jack Kennedy, the original one. Papa Kennedy, who was basically a bootlegger, a booze runner, all that. He was a criminal and shit. We'll get into all of the hypocrisy of the Kennedys and how they've taken a stance against like Jimmy Hoffa and all these other people and have done all these things, right, against the underworld. When, of course, the whole reason why they got their education, why they got put into positions of power, was because their father wasn't part of the criminal underworld himself. But let's not take the focus off Sirhan Sirhan, right? Do I believe that he's innocent? I believe that it's possible now that what I've read and all the research that I've done on him, it would seem that he was probably set up as a Manchurian candidate. Maybe even the victim of the MK Ultra program, some mind control. That's what he's been saying of late. And he was probably opening himself up to all of that because the one thing that a lot of people think and they don't really know is they believe that Sirhan Sirhan, because he's a Palestinian, he must be a Muslim. The man was never a Muslim to begin with. No. He's been a Christian this whole time. He was a Palestinian Christian. So he says originally he was pissed off about what was happening in Palestine, talking about 50 Phantom fighter jets that were going to be sent to Israel to kill Palestinians, all this stuff. There's even a journal that surfaced that was supposedly Sirhan Sirhan's writings saying that Kennedy must be killed. He might have blabbed it to somebody and blabbed it to the wrong person, and then they used him as a patsy to do the deed. I mean, it's what people are arguing in regards to Lee Harvey Oswald. Just the angle alone from how John F. Kennedy was shot would have been an impossible feat for Lee Harvey Oswald to accomplish in a book depository building with an old Italian bolt-action rifle. It's just, if you know anything about firearms, you know that the last sniper rifle you want to use in a situation like that is an Italian bolt-action rifle. They make a nice suit. They make some bomb-ass spaghetti. They make a clean Maserati. They make a fucking lousy firearm. Anybody that knows anything about him, you'll know this to be true. All right, so Sirhan Sirhan had an 8-shot pistol, and he was in front of Kennedy, Robert Kennedy. He fired 8 times, but Kennedy was shot 13 times, one of them behind the ear, at close range from about 3 inches away. Now, how the fuck did Sirhan Sirhan manage that one? What is he, Plastic Man? You remember that cartoon? The comic book hero, Plastic Man? What, he fucking reach his arm around? Stretch it out? What is he, Slender Man? I mean, I don't know. It's impossible. It's just like Lee Harvey Oswald's impossible shot. It would seem so coincidental and just like a happy accident that both of these brothers, the Kennedys, were shot by superheroes, or maybe the X-Men. Or maybe the mutants that were enemies of the X-Men. Who knows, man? I mean, it's all crazy shit if you think about it, but now people are starting to say that this man is innocent. But if you listen to his interview in 1989, when he was still at Soledad, with David Frost, he was expressing his remorse and saying he's sorry he did it and he was pissed off and all that. He was smiling, happy-go-lucky. He looked like somebody had spiked his morning coffee with some LSD. He just didn't look normal to me. I've seen him in other pieces, and he looked quite different. But this one right here was bizarre. Gave me the chills even, and it takes a lot to give me the chills. But it gave me the chills because go look at this interview. Go look it up, the David Frost interview with Sirhan Sirhan, 1989. You'll notice it's pretty bizarre. Just what he's saying, how he's talking, his whole attitude. People in the comments section are trolling this poor guy. Oh, look at him. He has no remorse. Oh, Robert Kennedy was such a great guy. How the fuck do you know Robert Kennedy was such a great guy? I mean, shit, he might have even been the one that strangled Marilyn Monroe. And this might be his karma. Who knows? I mean, you just really don't know. The Kennedys were caught up in the Marilyn Monroe death, but that was swept under the rug, of course. But yeah, Robert F. Kennedy's death was the result of a fatal gunshot wound to his head from behind, of which Sirhan Sirhan couldn't have done. The autopsy wasn't made available in Sirhan Sirhan's case. This whole case was kind of like a kangaroo court. If you know anything about kangaroo courts, it was more like a hearing than anything else. Very limited information or evidence was presented on behalf of Sirhan Sirhan, and ultimately he was sent to San Quentin to await his spot in the gas chamber. But he never made it because that, like I said, that repealing the death penalty brought him back to life, and he's still in there 50 years plus later. He's still in prison. And he may never see the streets again, just like Boxer. The funny thing about it, though, is why not? I mean, he's deep into his 70s. There's all this smut surrounding this case. I mean, Jesus. Obama released, what was it, Oscar Lopez Rivera? That FALN terrorist dude did all them bombings and shit, blew up a lot of things, killed some people, got him out of Terre Haute. He's out. Why not Sirhan Sirhan? You have to ask yourself that question. And why did he get stabbed? Out of all these years he's been in prison, through the fucking rockin' and rollin' 70s and 80s, nobody ever put a fucking piece of hard candy through his throat, in his back, up his ass, nothing. But now, finally, in 2019, somebody finally steps up to the plate in the S&Y yard, mind you, and stabs Sirhan Sirhan. Why? An old-ass man. So whoever stabbed him, man, I mean, kudos to you. You're a real gangster. You know what I mean? I don't know if it was a 2-5 independent rider or one of them weirdos. Who knows what it was, but he was stabbed and he survived. Couldn't even kill a 70-something-year-old man. This goes to show you the caliber of some of these people that are on those S&Y yards. You know what I mean? You're going to stab somebody, kill them. That's always been how I've been schooled on it. But, you know, this new generation's weird. But why? Why was he stabbed? That's really the question. You can't really find much on it. If you have any information in regards to why he was possibly stabbed, please present it. But yeah, it's believed that Sirhan Sirhan, by a lot of people, some prominent people, is now the victim of being a patsy like Lee Harvey Oswald. MK Ultra, all these things have been thrown around. But the one thing that I never knew about Sirhan Sirhan is that he was a member of the Order of the Rose Cross. He was a Rosicrucian, which is kind of like a mystical Christian order that if you do some research on it, you find out it's connected to all kinds of ceremonial magical arts, high magical arts, and all that stuff like that. A lot of the writings and the beliefs are that Jesus himself, which was not really the founder of the Order of the Rose Cross, it was a man named Christian Rosenkreuz back in Germany, but that Jesus was the original Mason magician of this order. Stuff like that, all that kind of stuff. And that's the organization that he was a part of. Could it have any connection at all? Who knows? But Robert Kennedy, like I said, people were saying that he's such a great guy and he's such a wonderful person. Wow, he's a Kennedy, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the White House, when John F. Kennedy was in there, it was called Camelot. Everybody swoons and drools over the Kennedys. And, I mean, they're like an iconic figure in the political world in this country and stuff like that. But their roots are founded in criminality. Their father was a booze running, bootlegging, all that shit. And all the money that he made, he put his kids through college, put his kids into positions of power. And I seriously doubt a Kennedy will ever run for president again. They're trying to get this new guy, forget what his name is, to run. But I seriously doubt any of them want to get a bullet put in them. So they'll probably just stay out of it. So Sirhan Sirhan may never get out of prison, just like Boxer. And you got to ask yourself why, especially with all this new information that's flying around. 13 shots and his gun only had 8. That's remarkable if you think about it, to be able to pull 13 bullets out of an 8-round gun. Amazing shit. But we'll see. His hearing's coming up again. If he lives that long, somebody doesn't want him out. Somebody doesn't want him to get out. Because while he's in there, he can be controlled, he could be sedated, he could be mind-fucked, and everything else. You know how it is in the California Department of Corruptions and Rehumiliation. Sky's the limit with them cats. And you already know what it is. You heard it right here. Prison Break Raw, uncut, uncensored, no holds barred, non-sugarcoat, not politically correct, all up in your face, slapping you with that dick of reality. And I'm out.